I should have shut the door the moment I heard the footsteps, but I didn't. I just stood there, heart pounding in my chest. And then Noah whispered from outside the bathroom, "Aunt, can you hear me?" You won't believe what happened next. A whisper so soft, so innocent, yet it opened a door to something I never saw coming. That was the moment I realized. Sometimes, danger doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the ones who know your name. So stay with me, and let me tell you what really happened that afternoon. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because after the story, the way you see trust might change forever. It was one of those quiet summer afternoons that made you forget the world outside even existed. The windows were open just enough to let in a breeze, and the hum of cicadas drifted through the air like a soft lullaby. I had just finished my shift at the bookstore, my feet sore, my head still buzzing from polite small talk and dusty novels. All I wanted was a hot bath and a few minutes alone with my thoughts. I wasn't expecting company. Not really. But a week earlier, my sister had asked if her son, Noah, could stay with me for a couple of weeks. "He just needs a break from everything," she said over the phone, her voice tight like she wasn't telling me the whole story. "And you've always been his favorite aunt." I said yes without thinking too much. I live alone in a small cottage just outside of town. Quiet, surrounded by trees, a place meant for healing, not whatever came next. Noah was 18, polite, quiet. He had grown taller since I last saw him, his shoulders broader, his voice deeper, the kind of change that makes you pause for a second, wondering when that sweet little boy turned into someone you barely recognize. Still, he called me Aunt Carla and offered to carry groceries like the good kid he'd always been. But there was something different, not wrong exactly, just off, like a look that lasted a second too long, or a quietness that didn't feel empty. It felt charged. I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe it was just hormones. Maybe it was nothing. But that afternoon, something in me stirred, and I had no idea that within the hour, I'd be questioning everything I thought I knew about Noah and myself. It's funny how we only recognize the signs after everything falls apart. Looking back, there were moments, little flickers, that should have told me something wasn't quite right. Like the way Noah looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. It wasn't a stare exactly, more like a study. Like he was watching me the way someone watches a flame. Calm, fascinated, maybe even a little drawn in. Or the way his fingers lingered just a second too long when he handed me a glass of water, or brushed past me in the hallway. Too soft, too aware. And there was one night, just a few days before everything, when I walked into the living room to grab my book. He was sitting on the couch, the lights dimmed, TV flickering in silence. I asked if he was okay. He looked up at me and smiled, that quiet kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "I'm just thinking," he said. "Thinking about what?" I didn't ask. I should have. But we always think there's time, don't we? Time to ask questions, to draw lines, to understand what's hiding beneath someone's silence. The day everything happened, I was tired, too tired to analyze anything. I took a long shower in the morning. Noah was in the kitchen making coffee. When I passed by him in my robe, he turned to look, not in a way that said hi, but in a way that said something else entirely, something male, something charged. I brushed it off, again, because what else was I supposed to do? Accuse him of looking at me the wrong way? Tell him that his energy felt too close, too heavy? I told myself I was imagining it, but deep down I think my body knew before my mind did. The stillness in the air, the way he started walking quieter around the house, how the house didn't feel like mine anymore. Not completely, like I was being watched, even when I was alone. The bath was supposed to calm me. The water was warm, just the way I liked it, with lavender oil and soft music playing from the speaker across the room. I let myself sink into it, muscles relaxing, mind beginning to drift. I needed this. It had been a long day, a long week, and for a moment the world outside didn't exist. It was just me, the water, and the silence, until it wasn't. At first, I thought it was the house settling. A creak, a shift in the floorboards. But then I heard it again. Soft, steady footsteps, and they stopped right outside the bathroom door. I opened my eyes, held my breath. The door was locked. I was sure I'd turned the knob before getting in. Still, the sound of the handle gently twisting made my stomach clench. I called out, my voice a little shaky, "Noah!" No answer. I waited a few seconds, water lapping quietly around me. Then finally his voice. "Aunt, can you hear me?" It was a whisper, barely audible, but it was different. Not the way he usually spoke to me. There was no boyishness in it. Just a calm, low stillness that sent a chill through the air. I felt suddenly exposed. Skin wet, robe on the hook, nothing between me and that door but a few feet of air and my own unease. My pulse quickened. "What is it, Noah?" I asked, trying to sound normal. A pause. Then, "I need you." 3 words. So simple, but they didn't land like a request. They felt like a decision. "I'm in the bath," I said, voice tighter now. Another pause. Then came a soft click, the lock shifting. I jolted upright. I knew I had locked it. I was sure. My heart pounded in my ears. And then, the door opened. The light from the hallway spilled in. And there he was, standing in the doorway, silhouette framed in golden light. Still Noah, but not. His eyes looked darker, like he wasn't hiding anything anymore, like whatever he'd been holding back had just stepped fully into the room. "Noah," I said again, this time more firm. "What are you doing?" He didn't answer right away. He just stood there, 1 foot inside the bathroom, eyes locked on mine like he could see something I wasn't even sure I was showing. "I tried knocking," he said, almost too casually. "But you didn't answer right away." His voice was low, calm, not embarrassed, not apologetic. I sank a little deeper into the water, instinctively covering myself with my arms even though the bubbles had mostly faded. The room, once warm and steamy, suddenly felt colder. "Noah, you need to step out," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But instead, he took another step in. He whispered, gaze flicking downward before locking onto mine again. "I needed to see you. Like this." My breath hitched. The silence between us grew heavier, like the air itself had thickened. I could hear every drop of water sliding off my skin, every slow, deliberate breath he took. "This isn't appropriate," I managed to say, throat tight. "But you don't look upset," he replied. And the way he said it made something twist in my stomach. It wasn't a question. It was an observation, a calculation. "I'm your aunt," I said, pushing myself upright, my voice sharp now. "You need to leave. Right now." But he didn't move. He took another slow step toward the tub and knelt beside it, resting one hand on the edge like he belonged there. "You're always so busy, Aunt Carla," he murmured. "Always so far away. But I'm here. I see you. I notice when you're tired, when you pretend you're fine, when you come home and lock yourself away." I stared at him, my heart pounding. His hand slid just slightly along the porcelain edge, fingertips trailing. "I've waited," he said softly. "I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. But it's hard, you know? When someone you care about doesn't see you the same way." My mind screamed. Every part of me knew this was wrong, that I should push him away, scream, throw something, call someone. But my body was frozen, locked in place by shock, fear, and something else I didn't want to admit, because there was a part of me that heard those words. "I notice when you're tired. I see you," and realized how long it had been since anyone else had. "Noah, stop," I said, sharper now. I tried to pull my arm away as he reached for me, but his hand wrapped gently, yet firmly, around my wrist. There was no aggression in his touch, but there was purpose, intention. "You don't have to be afraid," he said, his voice low, almost soothing. "I would never hurt you." But that wasn't the point. I looked at him, really looked, and for a brief second, I saw not my nephew, but a young man who had stepped into his own skin without telling anyone he was coming. "Noah, this isn't right," I whispered, trying to shake free again. "Let me go." His fingers tightened slightly, not painfully, but enough to let me know he wasn't ready to. "I've seen the way you look at me, Carla," he said. "Not Aunt Carla, just Carla." That single word knocked the breath out of me. He leaned in closer, and I instinctively shrank back into the water, the edge of the tub pressing into my spine. "I think you're lonely," he whispered, eyes searching mine. "And I think you don't want to be." The words landed like thunder in the quiet room. And the worst part? A tiny, dangerous part of me believed he was right. But truth doesn't make something right, and silence doesn't make consent. I finally found my voice. "This has to stop. Right now." I grabbed the nearest thing I could reach, a heavy bottle of body wash, and threw it at his chest. It hit with a dull thud and rolled onto the floor. He blinked, more surprised than hurt, but he didn't step back. Instead, he smiled, just slightly, and that terrified me more than anything. I took that moment of hesitation to move. I sat up straighter, pulling my arm free from his grip. My breath came in shallow bursts, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the room anymore. "Noah," I said, voice shaking now, "you need to leave. You need to walk out of this room and pretend this never happened." His eyes didn't move from mine. "You don't want to pretend," he said softly. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, because he wasn't wrong. And that was the most terrifying truth of all. I backed against the tub wall, clutching the edge with both hands like it could somehow protect me. My skin, still wet from the bath, prickled with cold. My breath was shallow, my heart pounding like a drumline in my chest. "Noah, this isn't you," I said. "You need to leave." He took a slow step forward. "It is me," he said. "You just haven't seen this side yet." His eyes didn't blink. There was no hesitation in his body, just a steady presence, like he'd made up his mind and wasn't going anywhere. I reached behind me, hand fumbling against the ledge until I found the thick, full bottle of shampoo. I didn't think. I just moved. With every ounce of strength I had, I hurled it at him. It hit him square in the shoulder with a loud thud. He flinched, stumbled back just half a step, but then smiled. That smile again. He rubbed his arm slowly, eyes still locked on me, unwavering. "Okay," he said, voice softer now. "I get it. You're scared." "No, I'm angry," I shot back. "And you need to get out." But he didn't. Instead, he knelt beside the tub again, slower this time. "I just wanted you to see me," he said. "The real me. The one that's been here all along." I pressed myself deeper against the porcelain, gripping my towel tighter around my chest. "You're not listening," I said. "You're not hearing me." He tilted his head slightly, studying me like I was some riddle he was determined to solve. "You're shaking," he murmured. "But you're not telling me to go." "Not really." His hand reached toward me again, slowly, deliberately, and this time, I slapped it away. "Don't," I snapped. "Don't touch me." That made him pause. His face shifted just slightly, a flicker of something. Hurt? Or maybe just surprised that I still had fight left in me. "I thought," he started, then stopped. "No, you thought wrong," I said. My voice was firmer now, louder. "You're leaving. Now." And for the first time, he stood, straightened his shoulders, took a step back. But the look in his eyes, that stayed. Not shame, not regret, just unfinished business. The moment he stood up, I moved. I didn't wait to see if he would change his mind. I just grabbed the edge of the tub, used every muscle in my legs, and pushed myself out of the water. My towel barely stayed in place as I stumbled onto the tile floor, feet slipping, body trembling. "Noah!" I yelled, my voice cracking. He didn't answer, didn't chase. He just watched. That scared me more than if he had lunged. I grabbed the doorknob with wet, shaking hands, twisted it, and flung the door open so hard it banged against the hallway wall. Silence. The house was still, empty. The sunlight pouring in through the front windows looked almost fake. Too bright, too normal. As if what had just happened existed in a different reality. I stood there, breathing like I'd run a marathon, towel clutched tight against my chest. Every sound felt louder now. The hum of the fridge, the ticking clock in the kitchen, a bird chirping outside. My skin felt raw. My heart even more so. I didn't know what to do, who to call, what to say. How do you explain something like this when there's no proof?
No screams, no bruises.
Just the memory of fingers that lingered too long, a whisper behind a door, and a look that said too much. I walked slowly down the hallway, legs weak, mind spinning. I reached the end and leaned against the wall, trying to collect myself. Then I felt it, that presence, that shift in the air like someone watching. I turned slowly, my breath catching in my throat, and there he was, Noah, standing silently at the other end of the hallway, his expression unreadable, his eyes locked on mine. He didn't move, didn't speak, he just watched, and in that gaze there was no apology.
No regret.
Just the quiet certainty that this wasn't over. Not for him, and maybe not for me either. I barely slept that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind through the trees outside felt like Noah was still there, watching, waiting. But the strangest thing was, he didn't say another word to me. Not that night, not the next morning. He acted as if nothing had happened. He walked into the kitchen around 8 a.m., shirtless, hair wet from a shower, and casually asked if I wanted coffee. I stared at him, stunned. My mouth opened, then closed. How do you respond to someone who just crossed every line you thought you had? I mumbled something and walked away. A few hours later, I called my sister. I didn't know what I was going to say. What could I say? That her son, the polite, quiet boy she trusted, had whispered things behind a locked door and looked at me like I was something he was entitled to? When she picked up, I started slow. I think something's off with Noah, I said. There was silence. Then a soft laugh. Oh God, she said. Did he forget to clean something? He's a little spacey lately. I almost hung up, but I tried again. No, it's more than that, I said. He's been strange. The way he looks at me. The way he… Carla, she interrupted, her tone now edged with warning. Please don't make this weird. I froze. She continued, more gently this time. He's just a kid. And you're tired. You live alone. Your mind can play tricks, you know? I hung up soon after. No point continuing. She didn't believe me. No one would. And that's when the house started feeling different. I couldn't explain it. The corners felt darker. The silence felt heavier. Like it wasn't just quiet, it was listening. Noah moved around the house like nothing had changed. He cooked, did laundry, watched TV, but he also stared at doors, at mirrors, at me. It was subtle, but constant. I stopped sleeping in the dark. I started locking my bedroom door twice, because even though he hadn't touched me again, I knew he could. And what terrified me most was that he might be waiting for me to forget just how close he already got. Maybe you think I'm overreacting. Maybe you think I imagined it all. I've asked myself that too, but the truth is, sometimes danger doesn't wear a mask. Sometimes it comes with a familiar face, a soft voice, a trusted name, and by the time you see it clearly, it's already too close. If this has taught me anything, it's that silence isn't safety. It's just the space where confusion grows, where lines blur. We don't always talk about the moments that leave no bruises. We don't always know how to name what's wrong when nothing technically happened. But I know what I felt, and I know what I saw. And if you've ever felt something like this, you're not crazy. You're not alone. So stay with me, because this story isn't finished yet. If any part of this made your chest tighten, or your heart race just a little, go ahead. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because next time, I'll tell you what happened when Noah didn't just watch from the hallway. He stepped into my room.